Hello and welcome to the show. We start this week's downhill chaos with a slightly drowsy looking Toyota MR2 that happens to spit an awful lot of fire. Many flames were coming out the back of this car. I quite like the MR2, and I was certainly keen to see how this car would do down a Mount Chiliad. Unfortunately, things would not exactly go to plan on this opening run. I got on the brakes too late. This is a pretty quick accelerating car, and I just misjudged my braking. Quite an easy thing to do down that part of the course, and the MR2 may have gone slightly up in flames. Next attempt, I get the line all wrong into the hairpin, dip a wheel over the edge, and as I go to put the power down, we end up going round in a circle. Yeah, not a good idea to have a wheel dangling over the edge on that hairpin. Another common place to see accidents happen. I clipped the bump a little bit awkwardly, ended up with my wheels the wrong side of the road, and once the wheels get stuck kind of hanging off the edge there, you can't recover the car back in time, and we can't get stopped for the next corner. More spectacular crashes were to come further down the run though, overshooting the jump slightly, and we've seen many a car have sort of bounced back up into the air, have issues down at that jump. The MR2 was certainly no exception. You get things wrong with this car, and yeah, you were very much off the course. The bigger area though, this particular corner, that caused a lot of issues. It's normally the jump that we're now going to come rolling across sideways. Normally that's the jump that causes the most issues for cars. That was not the case this time out. It could cause issues, but yeah, it was not the case for the MR2. The top section, well, it is very narrow and easy to make little errors, and it wasn't quite positioned well enough for that jump. Ended up eating the sign. As soon as you ended up eating the fences, the car's going to get dragged off the course. Nothing you can do about it. This was the jump. This was the area that caused all of the issues. The MR2 just could not deal with that landing zone. It absolutely loathed trying to carry any speed at that particular section. I thought I could just about get it back on the road again. In doing so, I came from such a weird angle. I couldn't quite carry as much speed as I thought I could down that particular part. We did make it to the second of the big jumps this time around, again with a massively spectacular flip off of that section. Do get the car back under control. Yeah, when things go wrong at that particular jump, they tend to go wrong in spectacular fashion. Yeah, getting this corner right and carrying speed around this turn were so problematic. It just didn't like the bumpy landing zone, and so often the car would end up out wide and end up in trouble at that particular section, although of course mistakes could be made elsewhere. The acceleration was pretty rapid. It caught me out in a couple of places. I just wasn't expecting the car to be going as fast as it was, and yeah, when that happens, you often end up off the course somewhere, and a slight bit too much of a correction for the run towards the second to last corner there. It was just enough to brush the inside banking, and again, when you do that at the sort of speeds that these cars travel at down here, you're going to go off in a spectacular fashion. It did take a little while to get the hang of this car. It's not that it's a bad car to drive at all, but certainly a couple of bumpy sections of the course the MR2 was not too happy about. Certainly this first kind of bumpy section down towards the longest straight that we have here, not that it's very long, just that the little bumps upset the car. It just didn't feel massively comfortable with some sections. I can't quite put my finger on what it was about the car, in what way it didn't like some of the sections on this track. It just didn't particularly feel particularly great to drive. So yeah, I definitely had to watch out for things, had to watch out for the acceleration, not get caught out and not end up braking far too late in the vehicle as we now come up to the section that I was very much dreading with the MR2. Had to make sure you got the car straightened up and got it slowed down well enough in time that it didn't get bounced up into the air, but still you see it getting a long way up onto two wheels across the second of the big jumps. Again, a little bit of two-wheeled on the landing there, but nothing too bad as we run towards the bumpy second to last corner. Do clip the mountainside ever so slightly, get away with it this time though. It just puts the car up on its side, not enough to spear it off into the terrain. A little bit of oversteer across the bumps as we head around the final corner with another big slide for the car, but the MR2 is across the line with a flip off a tree, and it is pointing in a way that I can get it back to kind of where I leave the cars after completing the runs. Yeah, it was a bit of an odd one. I liked the car, certainly when I was driving it around on the tarmac for a little bit. I liked the car, but down Chiliad, it felt a little bit peculiar. Up next, we have got the Ford GT90, bizarre concept car by Ford. This one, again, many flames would be spat out of the back of the car, and then much smoke, lots of smoke comes out of the exhaust of the GT90. Hikers were immediately in the way on this run, which is never helpful. The biggest thing that I kind of struggled with initially was the brakes were now so much more powerful in this than they had been in the MR2, and I found, much like I did with the Renault Sport RS, that I was going on the brakes far too early and I was slowing the car down to almost a complete stop in a couple of places. I was kind of, expecting to have to slow it down in a certain manner, and that was not necessarily the case with the car. On this opening run, I got quite a long way down the course before inevitably pushing my luck a little bit too much. Relatively unspectacular for the kind of crashes you normally have down here. That one, and the next one, I just about get everything slowed down in time, despite having a fair bit of air time. Although in getting it slowed down across the jump, it wasn't really quite enough to fit it through the little side road bit. I tried to carry speed and it didn't quite work as I had hoped, and the Ford ended up in the trees. It was a third run though that I got the GT90 to the bottom of the mountain. It was a very, very solid car to drive, this one, and unlike the MR2, much more predictable. Very, very quick accelerating, as you can imagine, and very, very good under braking. Yeah, you just kind of knew what the car was going to be doing. I had the wheels very much off the edge of the road there, and still was able to get the car back under control. I just got a fair bit of airtime as well coming down towards that next corner, but still, it was no problem for the GT90. As we leave the hairpin and up towards this first nasty bump, and there's no real problems with the car maintaining good speed. Not quite as quick through there as we saw in the Sport RS, no, but then not very much is. So it's got some pretty good speed about it through these turns. Once more, no issues with the landing. Now, got to be careful not to carry too much speed. It is very tempting with these incredibly fast cars. In the end, kind of landing a bit on the nose does help slightly there to shrug off some of that momentum, and sure enough, this time we can get the Ford through towards the second to last corner across the bumps. They're no problem for the GT90 either. Does get a big slide through that final corner. I may have clipped the bush on the inside, and that's what did the car in ever so slightly, as that was a big moment through that corner. Normally not a corner you see massive problems with vehicles, and all of the damage was again done after crossing the line with a big flip. I was not quite expecting the GT90 to be as drivable as it was down Chiliad. It was remarkably easy to have got it down on its third attempt. There was no real major problems with the car. It is very, very good going. Our final vehicle, the Koenigsegg Regera, would this is going to be a quick vehicle. It will be a vehicle that I would expect to be challenging the fastest of the road cars. Again, plenty of fire coming from the back of this one. And yes, well, it's a GTA vehicle. It does have gears. I know the Regera doesn't actually, but there we go. Much like we'd seen with the GT90, the Regera was surprisingly comfortable dealing with all of these bumps. Another mighty, mighty fast car in a straight line, and very, very powerful brakes, as everything was going relatively smoothly on this opening run. Things did not quite go to plan as such. We get a big twitch on the landing of the jump, and that's kind of just an out of position. And as I'm fighting to get the car back under control, I can't quite keep it all on the road. It doesn't have a massive off, but just being out of position for one corner can do that to a car. And again, I'm running far too wide. It's not very often I've gone off I don't think I've ever actually quite got off in this manner, and that's it's getting harder to find things I haven't done yet on this particular course. I ran the car too wide, and in trying to make the most of the speed of the vehicle, we ended up launching it across the jump in a completely wrong way and ended up, well, a long way away from where I was intending to be. So yeah, to find a completely new way of crashing a car down here is it's pretty good going. And then we have a relatively common way of having a big accident with cars down Chiliad was trying to be a bit too brave with the braking, and at the speeds this car will travel, you outbrake yourself slightly, and yeah, you're going to have a very, very large accident. Again, didn't take a massively long time to get the Regera to the bottom of Mount Chiliad. Despite being a low-slung hypercar, it was absolutely at home with dealing with these bumps, which is a slightly odd thing to say, but yeah, it really did not have any issues going down this course. I'm trying to think if there's anything that was even slightly dodgy with it, and no, not really. It was a lovely car to be driving down Chiliad. Of course, when you have got this much speed, the main thing to look out for is get the car slowed down, that you're not carrying far too much speed into the braking zones because of such rapid acceleration. But I didn't really have any massive problems with the Regera. The incredible brakes did plenty to get this car stopped, even with a little moments. Again, across two of the landings of the jumps there, we had little moments of the car being up on two wheels. It was nothing that was kind of heart attack inducing, because the car was so easy to get back under control as we round the second to last quarter. Again, no problems across the bumps. Chuck the car through the final turn and launch it across the line, and do manage to get the Regera stopped and under control nicely. Yeah, a very, very impressive hypercar, this one. It really was not phased at all by Mount Chiliad. Both this and the GT90 impressed me. Sometimes these much faster road vehicles can have big problems going down Chiliad, as you can imagine. But this one was not the case at all. It also broke the curse to the hikers as well. Normally you clip a hiker on a run and the run will be ruined, but not for the Regera. So on to the times, and it is unsurprising to see the Koenigsegg up in 13th place, a 1:19.5 for the Regera, and the GT90 also a very impressive time, a 1:20.2. I was perhaps expecting the Regera to be a little bit quicker. It does get beaten by the Alfa Romeo 4C and the T20, but it's right up there. This is the very fastest of the fastest road car area. Again, the same goes for the GT90. Same time as the Wara, beats the Lamborghini Egoista, beats the Audi DTM car. A good time. Definitely the GT90 was a nice car to drive down Chiliad. The MR2 is very much in the highly crowded mid-table area. It's 1:28.8. We'll put it into 78th place. Gets beaten by the Camaro SS, the Holden Monaro, and the Banshee 900R. But it does beat the Guardian. The Guardian, big off-road truck, while it's not quite got the power and so on, it did actually fare quite well across the bumps. And the likes of the Revolver, the Valor, the Proton rally car, etc. It's a good time from the MR2, considering the difficulties I had with that car across the bumps. I wasn't quite expecting the Toyota to be as far up as it was. However, that is it for this video. As ever, I'll put links to all of the mods that I have used in the description, so if you want to download them and have a go with them yourself, then you can. However, that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.